Chuck Norris couldn't or wouldn't do it. The 86-year-old, who has long been thought of has died suddenly, leaving. His many fans were shocked. A 86-year-old man died 9 days later. Man posted a video of himself tossing punched in the Hawaiian sun and scribbled the phrase, "I don't get older, I level up." He was gone 9 days later. The guy. The world spent years saying it was dead in. Hoaxes had really quietly died on a Tuesday. And what he made his relatives cry in a way that no one saw coming. The call that no one saw coming. On March 19, 2026, Chuck Norris was hurried to a hospital on the island of Hawaii's Kauai. He had been spending time there at the seaside home. He possessed the property on the North Shore. He and his wife Gena were in love a long time ago. A few hours later, hospitalization in an emergency. He was no longer there. He was 86 years old. 4A. The internet had pronounced the man dead at least 12 times the true. It was hard to understand the announcement. YouTube channels posted viral videos in 2023. Footage saying he died in a car accident. False during COVID in 2020. Facebook posts said he had done. He was very each time. Very much alive. So when the real family statement went out in March and his family made a short statement appealing for privacy. They didn't say what the cause was of death. The words they picked were cautious and measured, yet one line stood out. They said, "Thank you for love him. Thanks for watching his films. Thanks for remembering Walker. Thanks for loving him." That decision tells you something about what kind of man he was under all the legend and the roundhouse kicks. Inside, Donald Trump wrote a tribute on social media hours later, saying that Chuck is a nice man and a good, tough cookie. CBS, the network that fought him in court for tens of millions of dollars, gave a wonderful statement. Hollywood was sad in one voice, even though Chuck had been years of fighting against it from the outside. The question now is, every financial magazine and newspaper rushed to. The answer was this. What did he really? What did they leave behind? The answer is almost $70 million. Celebrity confirmed that number. Fortune magazine says that net worth is and mentioned in Newsweek's coverage of his death. But that number alone says, you don't really tell me anything interesting. A more interesting narrative is how he developed, who he is giving it to, and how a big part of that luck virtually never was there at all. Because of a law battle he fought and won in secret. One of the strongest TV shows, the most powerful networks ever. His estate includes the Lone Wolf Ranch in Navasota, Texas. Around 1,000 acres in Grimes County. It has a vacation home on Kauai, which is worth about $7 million. The precise place where he died. It includes the Sea-Force Bottling Company enterprise for water developed on the property following a discovery that happened by chance under the ground that no one expected. It includes royalties from more than 30 years of movies, a fitness commercial contract that lasted for almost 30 years, book income, endorsement fees, and the syndication of a TV show that was shown in almost 100 countries. No will has been made known. In Texas. As a community property legislation, Gena O'Kelley. His wife, who is still alive, gets half of the marital property by default. The rest goes to his kids. He had 5 of them. Them from 2 marriages in one. Kept his connection a secret from everyone. For almost 3 decades. What we know that Gena already has a holding 51% of Say Force's stock as its CEO, which means that the business stays in her hands, no matter what happens to the rest of the estate is split up. The ranch has been the family's full-time home since Chuck left Hollywood about 2012. Their 2 kids, Dakota and Dan Lee. They grew up on the land, which is now 24 years old. One of his family members who won't be there to get anything is his first. Diane Halchek, his wife. She passed away in December 2025. 3 months before Chuck, after a long fight with dementia. They divorced in 1989, although they still have 2 sons. Mike and Eric stayed with her till the end. In the last chapter of his life, Chuck Norris lost his mother and his first wife died just a few months after. And then followed them before spring came. That piece of information does not make it into most headlines, but it does important deeply to getting to know this man. At the very end. And there is one more hidden truth in that family story that no one outside of his close circle knew about it for almost 3 decades, very few people outside of his network knew about it. 4 years. The boy who was nothing. Before. There was $70 million before there was Walker, before there was a single. There was a roundhouse kick on the screen. There was a boy in Ryan, Oklahoma who was so shy that said he was neurotic. Carlos Ray Norris was born on March 10th of March, 1940. And he almost didn't live through being born. He came as what? Doctors termed him a blue baby, which meant he came into the world with dangerously low oxygen. Wilma, his mother, was a very religious person. Christian who had 3 boys. Mostly by themselves while doing menial work. Ray's father was a World War II veteran who came home broken and drank and vanished for 4 months at a time. Chuck wrote that when his father wasn't there, the house felt more at ease. Everyone walked on eggshells when he was home. Eggshells. The family moved from Oklahoma to Kansas to California, pursuing jobs that never paid well enough. Chuck got his diploma from North Torrance High School in 1958. A little bit built teenager who wasn't athletic and had never succeeded at what he said he had. Something that is really hard. People who knew him then would not have could have foretold what would happen next. He joined the Air Force that same year. That same year, he married his Diane Halachek, his high school love. She was 17 years old. He was 18 years old. The Air Force sent to South Korea. And that's where the kid from Oklahoma who was forgotten found the thing that changed every page of his life. He fell into a Tang pseudo class at Ozan Air Base and was totally spellbound. He trained 4 times a week, 5 evenings a week and 3 hours a day beneath a Shin Jilai, a Korean master. In 13, he got his black belt in just a few months. He subsequently wrote, for the first time in I had done something in my life hard for me to do on my own. That sentence is everything. martial arts did not just give Chuck Norris a talent. It gave him the thought that he could do hard things. Stuff. And once someone, they spend the time they believe that for the rest of their life, they will look for challenging things to try. When he got out of the hospital he wanted to become a police officer in 1962 but was put on a waiting list. Officer and was put on a list of people who wanted to become officers. He taught while he waited karate in the backyard of his parents' house. In a short years, he had developed a chain of more than 30 karate studios in Southern California with famous students. With Steve McQueen, Priscilla Barker, and Presley. He turned into a 6-time champion of professional karate and took home the Karate Triple Crown in 1969. And then one night at Madison, he met Bruce Lee at Square Garden. This was the most important moment in his life? The bond that started it all. Bruce Lee saw Chuck Norris in 1967. Karate competition in New York City and found him again later. They learned in Lee's backyard in Los Angeles. During 2 years, always arguing. Philosophies that are at odds with each other, and both of them better because of it. Lee called after that. In a good way. He was making a movie in Rome Needs Way of the Dragon and someone to be the bad guy in the big battle scene at the Colosseum. The government of Italy had not allowed to film there. Lee illegally videotaped for more than 5 days. Lee told Chuck that he would win the battle. Said, "I don't want to beat the world. Winner. I want to end the planet. Winner." It cost $130,000 to make the movie. And made about $130 in the end. Million around the world. Chuck Norris became famous all around the world for being beaten on TV by a man he named the best martial artist who ever lived. Lee died in 1973. His wife relocated to a house half a block away from the Norris house. Chuck spent telling young people about family time in the evenings. Brandon Lee tells anecdotes about his dad. Steve McQueen was a student and a friend who eventually made Chuck want to act. McQueen spoke directly to him, "You have the presence. Now learn how to do it." Chuck signed up for acting classes at MGM. The first movie cost $10,000. When no studio would put out his second movie, Good Guys Wear Black, he and his producers rented the venues themselves. It cost $1 million to shoot it. Made $18 million. Hollywood could not. After then, don't pay attention to him. He had by 1993 made more than 20 movies. He had a loyal people and real money. He didn't, though, still not have the thing that would change him from being a movie star to being a permanent part of American culture. The show that CBS wanted to get rid of. Walker. On April 1st, CBS aired the first episode of Texas Ranger. 21st of 1993, and he almost died right away. The first production. The company, Canon Television, went out of business. Throughout the first season. Just the pilot. And there had been 2 more episodes. Finished before the money ran out. The plug was about to be pulled when CBS noticed the first episode's ratings. A 16.5 rating and a 27 share, which means more than a rating, a 27 share, which means more than a percent of all TVs that are used. Saturday night, they were watching a show about a Texas Ranger who kicks karate. CBS found new partners and saved it. What? What came next were 9 seasons and 203 episodes. And the first drama in primetime filmed in the history of American television. All in Texas. Chuck was in charge. Creative direction through his business. Topkick Productions insisted on being moral. Themes that fit with his Christian faith. Religion used his brother Aaron as. Co-produced and performed the theme tune. Himself. CBS gave the Norris brothers credit for 9 years of manufacturing on time and on budget. The deal was worth $375,000 per episode and 23% of all profits. His acting fees for 203 episodes alone came to around $76 million. Syndication made everything bigger. USA Network spent $750,000 for each episode in 1997. The show was on air in more than 100 nations. Papers from the court filed years later showed entire franchise income over $692 million. That last number is where things start to change. Dark. Norris sued CBS and Sony in 2018 that they owed him more than $30 million in profits that haven't been paid. His legal crew wrote down that CBS had set up its partnerships for streaming and distribution to don't make him want to join in agreement and hadn't told anyone about it. Streaming money to him since 2004. The case went on for a long time in the courts. 5 years later, in July, it was settled. 2023 for an unknown amount. No matter how much CBS paid to settle that dispute. Now part of the estate his family is getting. Chuck Norris made his name by doing a lot of a certain picture. Strong, loyal family. Christian conservative dude. And for that picture was real for the most part. But there was one object hidden inside it that he kept absolutely secret for approximately 30 years. Norris's secret is life. While he waited for his Riverside, California, Air Force discharge. In California, Chuck met a woman named Johanna at a pub. He didn't tell her he was married. Their short time together had a daughter named Gena, who was born in February of 1963. Johanna found out that Chuck was married. Brought up Gena all by herself and got married. Another person. Gena's mother died when she was 16. Her mother finally told her the truth, but told her exactly what to do. Don't get in touch. He is married. He has kids. Don't get involved. Gena had the name of a for 26 years. Father she had never met and never reached out to. Then Chuck and Diane's. In 1989, their divorce became public. Gena wrote a letter 2 years later. Chuck's story in his 2004 memoir, Against All Odds. In his memoir, Against All Odds, he talks about coming into his living room and finding her being there. He wrote that as soon as he saw her, he knew without a doubt. Test or proof. I didn't need blood or DNA tests. He looked. His own face peering back at him. They both cried right away. The next line he wrote was one of the most famous things he ever said. Said outside of a movie. There could be. In the globe, there are parents that are not married. I know because I was one. There aren't any, though. Children born out of wedlock. Gena was completely accepted into the family. In 2015, Chuck put up a picture from his vacation. Gena, her husband, and Kauai. Their 2 grandsons live on the same island, where he would die later. The picture was public and nearly no one saw it since. The myth had taken over the men by then. Entire. In all, he had 5 kids. Mike started making Christian movies. Eric. Become one of the most revered people in Hollywood. Won a NASCAR championship in 2002 and worked as a stunt coordinator. Won the championship in 2002. The twins, Dakota and Dan Lee, were born in 2001. They grew up on a ranch in Texas. And Dina showed that the man behind the legend was more complicated and far more human than any movie or meme ever let him to show up. The year he almost lost everything. Gena O'Kelley in late 2012 had 3 MRI scans in 8 days to check for rheumatoid arthritis. Each scan needed an injection of a gadolinium-based contrast agent, a material made to go through the body without hurting it. Through the body in a few hours. In Gena's. In this case, it never left. Within hours of the. She talked about her first shot. The whole body felt like it was on fire. Like acid had gone through her veins. She was taken to the emergency department quickly. A lot of evenings in a row. Signs got worse and felt like burning. Severe tremors all over her body. Damage to her kidneys, loss of function in her left arm, difficulty with thinking, and muscle. So bad that she was finally living on baby food. Doctors checked her for cancer, ALS, Parkinson's disease with multiple sclerosis. All of the results were negative. Gena done her own investigation and came to the conclusion that the gadolinium had settled down for good inside her body. When she gave this to her Houston doctors, they disregarded it. She told them simply once that she had been poisoned and needed to do something, or she would die. Chuck said he saw death in her eyes, and knowing he was losing her, he got in touch with an integrative doctor in Reno, hired a private plane and a paramedic, and took them to Gena throughout the country for sedation therapy. Tests showed that she was. The doctor's tests showed that the gadolinium levels were. In their own terms, they were literally off the charts. Chuck slept on the couch next to her bed. Read her 17 books over the course of 5 months. Screaming, and flew her to China for STEM therapies for cells. He told the people who interviewed him clearly that he had given up his movie to keep her alive. The cost in money from 2012 to 2017 was almost $2 million, or roughly completely out of pocket. In 2017, the Norrises sued for $10 million against 11 drug firms. Both of them gave testimony before the FDA's advisory committee in September 2017 and the FDA committee in September 2017. Then voted to add new warning labels to gadolinium contrast agents. Labels for gadolinium contrast agents. The European Medicines Agency put a stop to 3 goods completely. The suit was voluntarily dropped in January 2020. Without a settlement. Each party paid their own legal fees. Now, when Norris himself is gone, therefore let's tell you what he left behind. The dispute over the fortune and his legacy. The estate was worth $70 million. Not just based on movies. The full Jim Christie and I are working together on an infomercial. Brinkley ran for about 30 years in 85 countries and sold more than 4 million units. Brinkley wrote this when he died. Chuck's idea to bring her on board had been notion completely, and that she would always be thankful. It is still one of the longest-run famous fitness Relationships that have happened on TV. The Lone Wolf Ranch turned become its own engine. In 2011, people were drilling for water. Hit a 23,000-year-old rock by accident. An artesian aquifer under volcanic rock. On the land. That finding led Chuck and Gena started Force bottling. Company in 2015 built a factory that can fill 400 bottles. A place that can fill 400 bottles every minute. CF Force Water is currently available for purchase in all 48 states that are next to one other. Gena is in charge of 51% as CEO, which means the company stays completely in her hands as the estate settles down around it. His Kickstart Kids Foundation, which started in 1990 with help from President George H.W. Bush, increased to help 58 schools in Texas and more. More than 120,000 kids and teens throughout in its lifetime. It was by most accounts the project he was most proud of. Not a movie, not a battle scene, a class full of teens learning that discipline builds something within of them that follows them around all the time. The fight over who Chuck Norris really is was lit up as soon as he died. He was a dedicated Christian who proclaimed in public that faith was the most significant thing about him. He was a spokesperson for the NRA for a long time. He backed Mike Huckabee in a campaign ad from 2007 that altered the primary race and then supported Donald Trump in 2016. He wrote a WorldNet Daily had a politics column for almost 20 years. After his death, an entertainment company released a story that said his politics had made his legacy less important. The backlash was quick and strong, and the discussion had just begun. The luck is real. The ranch, the water, the corporation, the royalties, and the litigation, settlement, the Kauai property, and all of it is real. And it is being split apart right now among the individuals who loved him. But the reason his family asked the world to thank them for loving him instead than for watching him is that the man behind the legend was always more human, more complex, and more valuable. More than the myth ever let on. Stop. Please share your ideas in the comments below. Because of the struggle over Chuck Norris's, the actual legacy is already happening, and we want to know exactly where you stand on it.